And I just doing some more documenting here. Uh, I just wanted to go through the process of what a targeted individual goes through when they are in the process of being set up. And the way that these people like to do this is they always have plausible deniability and they use double entendres. And they, in cult type religion or whatever you want to call what they do, cult activity, when they are attacking you or harming you or trying to disrupt your life, they have to tell you in certain ways that they're going to do it. And they do it in all kinds of different ways. So basically, the way that this whole scenario started, I purchased a storage unit. It was full of stereo equipment. I have some of the stereo equipment for sale. I've sold some of it. Um, I kept some of it, and I ended up with a decent stereo system that I've been listening to. And it didn't have the best speakers, so I thought, it'd be nice to have some speakers that go with this thing that would would sound better, and I could just trade some of this equipment for some better speakers. So I put something out on OfferUp, Craigslist. I have all this stuff for sale on both, and the only response that I received, the only legitimate response that I received was this guy that uh, messaged me and said, started a conversation. Said, "Hey, I've got some speakers that I can trade for this Theater Grand. It's a Carver Sunfire Theater Grand. It's a very high quality, hi-fi uh, sound processor. Uh, it's vintage. They're hard to find. They're still worth around $300, $400 on eBay, other websites, stuff like that. So this guy had some speakers, some decent speakers, some Klipsch reference, some Pinnacle reference. Reference apparently is the highest end of a company's speakers that they make. The reference series is usually the top of the line. So he says he has these speakers. I'm like, okay, great. I'll be able to trade this thing. I don't have to pay any money. Um, I'll have a set of speakers, and then if I need to, again, I can just go ahead and sell all this stereo equipment to pay my bills. Um, it's not something I have to have. It's just something that that's nice to be able to listen to in the house while I'm working. So anyway, the guy shows up to my house. He's got these Klipsch speakers. He says they're out. Yeah, they're out in my car. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to those. And I have another set of speakers that you'd probably like. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. I thought the original deal was you were gonna trade me these clips. So okay, so here's uh, another audible, calling an audible in the middle of the transaction here. So he says, well, how about would you take 150 bucks for this thing? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'll take 150 bucks. Uh, he says, well, I'll give you 150 bucks now, and then I can bring these other speakers over. We can meet somewhere. I was like, I'd rather not meet anywhere. Um, I thought you were gonna, just trade me the speakers that you had. That was gonna be at the end of it. And I said, okay, whatever. Just give me the 150 bucks. Like, do you have the Cash app? He said, no, no, I don't. I don't like to do that. I don't like to download apps on my phone. And said, if there's a bank right around the corner, if you want to go get 150 bucks, just bring that back over, and you can have this processor. And so I thought, okay, I either get paid for this processor that I'm selling, or the guy will show back up with some speakers, like we'd agreed. And we ended up having this long conversation. I explained to him about targeted individuals. I explained to him, um, the targeting process, what people go through. I showed him the Q map. I showed him, talked to him about a bunch of different stuff. He talked to me about God, talked to me about Jesus, told me that his life mission is to spread the word of Jesus. He used to have a drinking problem and he quit drinking and all the, long story and personable guy. If I were to guess, the guy was prior military or a police officer, and I even mentioned to him, I was like, in our conversation, said I'm pretty good at identifying somebody that's been in the military. I was in 15 years. You can usually spot somebody a mile away. It's been in the military and or a police officer. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, you know what? Everybody says that. They say that all the time. They always think I'm a cop, and I'm like, I don't care if you are. I hope you are. I hope you're one of the good guys, and you're here to talk to me, covertly to get get some information to help me out. I don't care if you are. I know there's good cops out there. Anyway, we had this long conversation. Um, Everything seemed fine. Then, in the conversations, we're going back and forth. I'm trying to get this guy to come over last night. He wanted to show up like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. He's telling me to watch some show. He's telling me I'm going to get hooked on the show. Uh, I talked to him again today. He's like, "Hey, sorry, man, I've really been behind the eight ball." So we started using these double entendres, to where it sounds like they're just saying something normal, figure of speech, but what if they add those up? It sounds like a bunch of drug references. And we all know that our phones, our email transactions, everything is monitored. So if the algorithms pick up those certain terms, eight ball, or you're going to get hooked on this, or this is high quality, stuff like that, transaction, money, all those different things that are said within a short period of time, that could trigger some kind of alert, and they could say, "Oh, well, listen to this type of speech. This is typically what's said during a drug transaction." Plus, items that we're selling in my store, all of a sudden, people are messaging me saying, "Quality product, thank you. This is great stuff." When I sell baseball hats, um, going to the store last night, a lady that is not shopping, she's not buying anything, she's not doing, she just is standing there. As I go up to the front counter, she interrupts me and starts asking the store clerk if her nose is bleeding. Uh, she's like, "Can you look at my nose right here? Is it bleeding? I just scratched this thing. Is it bleeding a lot? Is it gushing? Is it?" Which people with problems with cocaine, they have bloody noses. And so there's a lot of other things that have come up in the last few days that have had to do with types of drug references and stuff like that. So I've seen this 1,000 times now. This is exactly how they operate. They send you little cues, suggestions, keywords that are double entendres, and they do it over a couple day periods, sometimes over a week, sometimes over a month. It all depends. And when you learn how they operate and how they send these long drawn out messages, you learn to speak their language basically. But then when you call them out on it, they immediately say, "Oh, well, you're just being paranoid. You're being paranoid." And it's no, no, it's not. I've learned how you operate. I'm not the only one. There are thousands of people that will watch this video or that are going through this type of targeting, cult abuse, that will understand exactly what I'm talking about, that are not paranoid, that have just learned um, this type of behavior from these people. Plus, the last girl that I dated, she actually was telling me a story about how she was dating a cop. She went to the policeman's ball, and they were telling her stories about um, how if somebody would give them a hard time, or if they fought back, basically they could just plant drugs on somebody. She said somebody was giving her a hard time, and the guy was like, "You want us to plant drugs on him? You want us to set him up?" And I really don't think that that story just came out of nowhere, didn't have an intention, didn't have a reason. So it's long drawn out stuff like that, meant to make you sound paranoid, meant to make you uh, sound delusional or schizophrenic, which is absolutely not the case at all. And you just have to deal with it and go through the motions. So this guy kept wanting to show up at my house after dark. It's not good to do transactions on Craigslist, on uh, OfferUp, on anything really that you're not shipping the item to somebody at your home after dark. And the guy said that he was going to be here at 1 o'clock today with these speakers. Never heard from him. Messaged him. Didn't hear anything back. And then he tells me, "No, I'm behind the eight ball, man. I'm waiting for this guy to bring this receiver over, and blah blah blah, and all this stuff. I'll probably be over there around, I don't know, 5:30 or 6. 5:30 or 6, right when it gets dark. Let's see, what time is it right now? It is 5:30 on the dot. The sun is just about to go down. So if somebody doesn't want to be filmed, if they don't want their face to be seen as well, they would want to do something in the dark. Just like cockroaches, they like to operate in the dark. I told him, if you can't show up before the sun goes down, let's just not do this. You know, I'd like these speakers, but it'd probably be a better idea for me just to keep the money anyway. Um, and I text him. Actually, I text him, and I mentioned to him. I said, you can be offended by this if you want, but I have to make sure beyond the shadow of a doubt that I am clear about my intentions. You keep making references to drugs, and I have absolutely no intention of buying drugs from you, transacting anything illegal, anything like that. I want to upgrade my stereo system, and that's it. If you can't show up today before the sun goes down, we'll have to do this another time, or I can just keep the money that you gave me for the receiver. So here's our phone call. I called him. He didn't answer me on the text message, so I just called him back.
Hello?
Hey, Mike, it's Mike.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey,
I was just reading your text. I had to sell a receiver, but
Okay, yeah, I apologize if you feel offended or anything like that, but I have to go through some really weird stuff, and I just have to cover my ass. I'm constantly trying to be set up, and I just have to.
dude, I'm just stop right there. Like, honestly, you're being 100% paranoid.
No, actually, I'm. What's the first thing that they say when you call them out? What's the first thing they say? They get offensive. Because you don't know what I've been through.
No,
I don't trust anybody. It's not paranoia. It's called vigilance.
I'm telling you, my reference today, I never even use that reference hardly ever.
So, well, no, I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna.
Let me tell you,
I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna stop you.
I shoot pool, buddy. That's what I didn't reference drugs.
No, I'm not saying that you.
So being behind the eight ball means you got to take care of a bunch of other stuff, like the
No, I understand.
before you finish the eight ball.
I understand.
That's what I meant.
I understand
Just so
that.
you know.
Dude, you gonna let me talk? I understand.
Okay.
There's things called double entendres, okay, and that's what they use when they're doing this kind of stuff. And if you haven't been through this, I completely understand. And if you're offended, I completely understand.
No, I'm not
but
offended.
what I have to do is cover my ass and make sure beyond the shadow of a doubt that I'm not being set up. And I really don't trust anyone because of what I've been through. So it's not paranoia if they're really after you. And I've gone through enough. I've been through 2 years of court.
Honestly, man, I mean, like, from what, I'm not offended. I'm telling you for your reality. Like, we have had.
Okay, if you have never been targeted or you've never gone through nonstop setups, you can't explain somebody's reality to them that has been. So what these guys try to do is they try to. Oh, okay. Sorry, I just had somebody start the car up and start their music up real loud out here. What they try to do is they try to explain to you that what you were experiencing is some kind of delusion or some kind of you're being paranoid. And went, no, no, actually, no, it's not. You've been through this a million times. You can see it coming from a mile away, and they immediately use that tactic. You're being paranoid. I'm trying to explain your own reality. This guy, I can almost guarantee you, this guy's a dirty cop.
No interaction except for this receiver.
Well, you don't understand my reality.
And I got no reason to do anything to you. If I was, I would have done it when I went to your house. I don't know what I would have done or what they would have done, but
you don't know me and you don't know what I've been through, so you can't explain my reality. So
exactly. But I'm just letting you know I'm a normal person, and the references that I'm using, you're kind of like
no. It's been done to me. It's been done to me before. So if it's just a coincidence, I apologize.
Dude,
but
I shoot pool behind the 8-ball means.
I understand what it means.
You don't have to shoot in all the other small balls before you get to the.
So here's what they do. They just keep explaining themselves. So he's already explained this, and they're telling you something you already know. I know what behind the 8-ball means. I'm not an idiot. Everybody knows what that means. And they'll just keep explaining the same thing over and over. Telling you it's like what people call mansplaining. Only this is like they're assuming you're some kind of idiot and you don't know what what they're talking about. When you understand exactly what they're talking about, people use double entendres. They're one saying that means two different things.
It's a common reference. It has nothing to do with drugs.
I completely understand what it means.
In that TV.
And yes, an 8-ball is definitely a reference to drugs.
So I honestly was binge watching it all day, and I thought it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. So I was like, hey,
yeah, I understand.
You seem like a cool guy. I just met you.
I understand what all this stuff means, man.
I talked to you yesterday.
I understand. I understand what all of that means. I understand the different references to different things, and I understand how sometimes people operate. So, it's like.
No, I'm not offended. I'm trying to help you understand because I'm just letting you know.
I'm fully aware and I understand 100%. So
okay.
Yeah, it's not paranoia, buddy. It's just it's. You ever heard of the burn syndrome?
No.
Yeah, when you touch the stove, it's hot. You don't want to burn your finger again. So this exact same thing has happened to me before. So it has absolutely nothing to do with paranoia. It happens to do with CYA, covering my ass. And I just have to document things, and I have to make things perfectly clear to people that what my intentions are. So there's no issue down the road. So.
I don't know what's going on here. I just don't want to be end up in one of your videos because I have an alarm company. You know what I mean? I don't want to. Yeah, man.
Okay.
I don't want to be involved in that because I'm a normal guy with a normal business.
Yeah, that's cool.
A normal transaction with you.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you want to just keep the cash, if you could use the cash, keep it, man. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I could easily sell these speakers for $150, so it would actually save me a trip from going across town.
Yeah, I think that's our best option.
Yeah, keep the cash, bro, if that helps you out. But I just wanted you to know, dude.
Yeah,
you got nothing to worry about with me.
Well, I've heard that before.
And I'm not offended. I just wanted you to understand that.
I heard that life than a lot of other people do, and I just have to do things like this, and I'm not paranoid. I just am
you're fine.
vigilant.
But no, when you said it to me, I was like, you know what? I don't really need the cash, and you could probably use it, right?
It's neither here nor there. I'm just trying to talk to you about to cover my ass. So what I need or what I don't need. I was just trying to upgrade my stereo system, and that's it. And I've gotten a bunch of other weird interactions over the last couple days that have references to drugs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just.
And the battery died on my GoPro, so that's just the typical kind of thing. If it wasn't, if the guy had no intentions of doing anything weird, he would have just said, "Look, man, especially after I explained to him everything I've gone through, and he seemed so understanding and so friendly, and yeah, man, that's interesting. I can understand." He would have said, "Dude, no problem. I'll just bring those speakers over, drop them off, and you can give me the $150 back, and call it a day. No big deal. But notice how he just said, yeah, you know what? Just go ahead and keep the money. Go ahead and keep the money. He didn't want to show back up here because I knew that he would probably end up on one of my videos because I have to document what I'm doing in case these people do try to set me up. I just informed the court system that I want to go back to court and be heard. Immediately after that, these street theater skits start up again. Both of my batteries die on my vehicles. The battery's dead on the van again. Brand new battery alternator works on the van. Uh, One thing after another. It's really ramped up. It's an immediate response to me standing up for myself and wanting to go back to court. And you know, these people want to punish you when you want to stand up for yourself and you want to fight for your freedom. They want to try to punish you, and I'm not letting it happen. So no big deal. I don't have any new speakers. The ones I have are fine. I can hear them just fine. Uh, but I'm pretty damn sure that disaster was averted today, and this is how you have to operate while you are being targeted. All right, I hope that was helpful to you people out there that are targeted, that are trying to be set up in these corrupt, weaponized systems to fill jail systems, to fill mental facilities, to sell billions of dollars of SSRI and psychotropic drugs, and to help push a social engineering program, basically. The Department of Homeland Security has been weaponized along with the FISA court to attack our society. And a lot of this goes through the police department, unfortunately. Uh, Not everybody with a uniform is a hero. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Some of them probably don't want anything to do with this type of behavior. Uh, some of them understand that peace officers no longer exist, that we have enforcement officers, and the more business they create, meaning putting people in jail, arrests, um, fabricated incidents. They use the problem reaction solution paradigm, otherwise known as the Hegelian dialect. So they create the problem and then they jump in to save the day. So it's basically fabricating a need for safety and then acting on that, and then they can keep building private prisons. They can keep uh, adding officers to the payroll. They can keep social engineering public. And that has absolutely nothing to do with what a police officer's job is. A police officer's job is to protect the community. And I think the Supreme Court actually even has changed that to say that police officers have zero responsibility in protecting and helping the community. Their job is enforcement. And I'm not okay with that, and a lot of other people aren't. So I'd like to get rid of a lot of these dirty cops and get peace officers back into our society, and then we'll be okay. That's it. Everybody have a good day.